Alright, today we're actually going to be looking at some of my old projects. So I've been coding since this 2018. So I've been coding for nearly 8 years. I haven't been very good at programming for much of that time. Most of my learning has been in much more recent time. But we're going to go ahead and just take a look at like my old games from when I was like 8 years old that I used to program. And I just kind of want to talk about like how my programming has changed. So you'll notice a lot of really bad programming styles that I used to have. The very first game wasn't this. I won't really go into this one because it doesn't have anything. It was something else, then I changed it to this. But the very first game that I really programmed was probably one of these two. I want to say this one. Let's take a look at this one. This is massive update coming. It's been saying that for 4 years. 8-space underground facility. I used to make these games called core games where you had like a reactor core. Autonomous admin. It's been so long since I've used Roblox Studio. So yeah, you have this core and you have to make it stable. It looked like shit. But let's take a look at the actual programming of it. Insta meltdown gamepad script. So yeah, I think I didn't even code this. I looked at some tutorial. What did I actually do? Workspace.other remote event. I just took some random remote event. And look at this. You can see game.workspace.temp.value equals game.workspace.temp.value plus 40. The plus equals operator didn't exist in Lua U at this time, so I had to do this. I think this just this gave me the ability. You do not own the game, therefore you must not kill everyone. Thank you, 8-year-old Oliver. Starter pack. Look at this. It's so simple. What even is this game supposed to be? Why do I have like 1,000? Why do these just do nothing? Like where's the programming? Laser control. There's got to be some programming somewhere. Here it is. This was, I don't know, this looks so wrong. I don't know why it's not indented. Actually, I'm not going to do it. Just I wait 1 second and then I start a while loop continuously checking if the temperature is above 3999. Above equals to existed, so I don't know why I did that. I wait a second. I set the sign to error core overload. I wait another second. I start. So it's basically just a sequencer. I have too many mother, whatever that is supposed to mean. So this is the high-tech meltdown script. Does coolant do anything? What scripts do I have? Oh, like I feel like I don't know what's life. Why is there no indenting at all? Fetch dog. I just type in random words. So this was basically like the first game I ever made, and this was made in 2018. It's like literally the same day my Roblox account was created. So I've been programming for 8 years. That's a long time. Let's take a look at another project. Let's take a look at 8-space incorporated underground hangout new underground. This is going to be so good. This pad takes you to the hangout. Thank you, giant ass sign. To the outside world. This is an escape to just the quote-unquote world. Wow, this is beautiful. I remember showing my mom this, and I don't remember what she said, but I was programming this on some shitty ass computer with a Celeron integrated graphics. It was beautiful, dude. Yeah, I didn't create this. So, what did I program? We've seen a few things that I've programmed, but this is like the early stages when I didn't know shit. This is when I was first learning how to make a computer do what you want it to do. I don't think I had anything yet. Maybe the hangout will have more. The hotel for 8-space underwater TP. This is gonna be great. This right here is the underwater rocket made out of solidified water. Of course, this is beautiful. Like, how could you not like? Why is it split into so many separate parts? Wow, this is beautiful. Club 8-space underwater with clouds into. This is the best game ever made. Welcome to the hangout. This is the sign. This is the seat where you get to sit and stare at the sign that says welcome to the hangout. Again, I still had that same teleport script. What did I do? Did I do programming for these ones? Maybe I didn't do any programming for these ones. Yeah, there is no way in hell I programmed this. I would, whatever, I don't know what the hell this is, but I would never do that. I honestly, till this very second, didn't know you didn't need the parentheses. iMac lifting sim. Oh, this is gonna be beautiful. So I think I followed a tutorial by like, dude, Alvin Blocks. Dude, Alvin Blocks. That guy is the GOAT. He had like all the tutorials back then. Please read. All credit goes to Alvin Blocks. No data save later on. Have fun and enjoy. Okay, for data store, my data store, key, player user ID. Right. This is defined a bit wrong. I really don't like this end statement right here. Like, the else local load. Again, yeah, this is all. Like, where's the indentation, dude? What's going on? This is a very simple data store. None of this is real programming yet. Again, you can see I do this, but like I just, if not, then return no folder end. Is that supposed to be error handling? Potentially, it is supposed to be error handling. Remote event, yeah, or function, no way. I didn't know how to do remote functions for a very long time. But what is this? Oh, what could this possibly be? If strength is greater than math.floor start of rebirth plus rebirth step value times math.square root. Why? What even is this? What does this evaluate to? I don't know why I put the time. 7071. Just again, you can tell I made this. You can tell that I, 8-year-old Oliver, programmed this because there is just no indents. Like, why did I not do them? Like, this is wrong. Like, this is wrong. Like, you should be doing this. And if, else if, end, why? How, is this valid? No, because you have that. And I'm getting confused just looking at it. And then you have this. Wait, where does this end for? Is there? Oh, there's another one. There. Okay, what is happening? So this is the problem. You can see a trend coalescing. I was very procedural at first, which makes sense. Most programmers are very procedural. I wasn't object oriented, meaning like I didn't put things into classes yet. That's going to be a trend. And I'm actually not going to say that in a bad way. I'm going to talk more at the end about the sort of the reoccurrence of procedural programming for me. Scripts were very simple. I just had them do a thing. I had module scripts, but yeah, I didn't really know how to use them. Like, module scripts don't come in until much later. A module script is pretty much like it's like just a script that you can require, and it gives you something. It's like a library almost. I guess the closest object-oriented thing would be like a singleton, or it's just like a library, really. It's not even. It's just like a collection of functions. Oh, it's like there's something that I didn't just use a tutorial for. The library. Wow, is this really? I also have no idea what this is. I don't think there's any programming though. This might actually be the first game I ever made myself, which is so crazy to say. This was created in 2019. Welcome to the library. Here I'll tell you a juicy story if I'm in the game. Also, you can tell stories to other people, but I'm special. I get the gold book. If you think I'm fake, watch me pull that out, and you'll believe me now. Hey, if I'm in the game, I'm a human, unlike other devs who just don't talk. Some asshole disliked it. So I think I built this myself, which I was really proud of at the time. I mean, it looks like shit, granted, but this was like the first thing that like I built. I mean, obviously the books aren't mine. I don't think there's any programming. Wait, there's this. Local players, builder blocksy, gear, server book. If find okay, but why did I define myself in a table? Do I still have the gold book? The ultimate question that we need answers to. I have the gold book still. Dude, hold on, does it say something? I swear it says something. It's uneven. Oh, this is beautiful. Why is... Oh, I thought my glasses look off. My glasses look too low. Oh, that's bothering me now. That's bothering me now. My glasses are too low. Whatever, I'll just take them off. I can't fix it. I don't have any other ones. Oh, I know what this is. This is The Hangout. If you've ever watched Kaneko Kitten, I know. It's an ancient name. And not a good one either. A long time ago, he used to have this place he made where he talked about all this stuff. Now, I was a big fan of Kaneko Kitten before he decided to like kids. So I made my own, but it sucked. At least I'm not a pedophile, okay? Beautiful. 5 times 16. Look at that. Look at this. Compiler optimized. The joke is that there is no compile. It doesn't even work. Cart ride into Donald Trump. Beautiful. GitHub sign API. It's not an API, but I'll look at that. Look, that sounds. Biloxi restaurant. What is this? There used to be restaurant games. I used to troll them. I think I was just trying to make my own for some reason. Another example of me not formatting my code. If hit parent.name keycard. It's just at this point I'm still just making simple sequencers. I'm gonna move on to something with actual code. Ooh, there's a few good ones. These are some good ones. Mainly these ones. Ignition. Wow, that one. Wow. Okay, let's go. Let's start with 8-Space Starship. So there are a few 8-Space Starship-esque games. 8-Space is just like the name of this fictional future company I had. Let me go ahead and just show you what happens in this game. I can't even tell if I remember. I think if I type ludicrous. Oh yeah, it's happening. It's happening. Volume up. Oh, I forgot this. The audio is probably copyrighted. Is something else supposed to happen? Or is this? I think this is it. I remember it did something. I forget what it was, and I thought it was just so cool, and I was so proud of myself for it. But time breaks everything. Look at this. Ship. I actually had this is how I organized things. You can see the beginning of the style emerging. I organized everything physically in the editor as a game object, and that was it. It was pretty much just a collection of data that I would use, but it wasn't really that good. So things were physically separated, but not programmatically. So if you don't know, I was inspired by a game called Innovation Inc. Spaceship, and I was really into core games like Innovation Inc. Spaceship, Quantum Science Energy Research Facility. There was the Innovation Inc. one, but not the power plant. That wasn't out yet. Here it is. Here it is. What's your problem? What's your problem? What even orange line? Dude, that syntax highline didn't exist back then. So, oh, look at this. So you can really see procedural. So I named things either just full lowercase. I did camel case. Or I did, I think this is Pascal case. So if I said ludicrous, it would just activate this function. This function had a series of responsibilities that it would delegate to a spawn. I think this is like a coroutine. And it delegated its responsibilities by calling another function that did things. So this is procedural. Except for some reason I had function close. You see close window here. It had to do all these things. It tweened it. It had these properties. It tweened it, did a sequence, and then it spawned. I don't know why I had it like this. I don't know why I just didn't spawn it. But this you can see the style merging, nested functions, stuff like this. This is sort of how I started out, and this is how I worked pretty much until the end of Roblox games that I made. Auto response bot. I used to troll people in games pretending to be a robot because I did it for so long. I don't know why. I think I was just like a loser. But then I decided, you know, I was a quote unquote programmer back then. So I decided, you know, why don't I make my own? And that's what this was. Or like, why don't I actually make one? You can see it did this. It wasn't very good. Let's move on to something a little bit more advanced. Launch to space. This was my first quote unquote game. So I did, like, not recently, but less recently than that, like not this long ago, a time ago, I decided to like reprogram everything, which is pretty unfortunate. Maybe because it has the basics of what I had, except it is a lot more in, like, I used to make things in this style, so yeah. I don't know. I had this style that I built stuff in, and this was more akin to it. See, this is, for me, this is a lot more of a modern building style. Again, I haven't used Roblox in a really long time. I'm guessing the code probably reflects that. Yeah, you can see I have things more organized. Not that organized, but pretty organized. Load treason, you can see it does that. I don't know why I didn't just load them in by default. Yep. And you can see things were separated in server script service. I had a tweening module. Oh my god, the tweening module. This This is the module. I think I literally have a private plugin that I made. Yeah, here it is. Insert tweening module. This module I used across so many games. I didn't make it here. I don't use it anymore, but wow, this was what I used to use. You can see it's really bad. I can't even really tell what's happening, but it creates a module, and it just takes all of the stuff and makes tweening simpler. It was a really bad module. It's unreadable, but this was my first quote-unquote library. Dude, this shit was so useful. I used it in so many games. I wish I still had the old launch to space. It looked like this. 8-Space Fusion Research Facility. This is my first quote-unquote serious attempt in about 2020, I think maybe around 2021, where I actually tried to make a game. It doesn't work anymore, unfortunately, but it had some code in it because you start up variables. Wait 5, favorite variable. I defined a bunch of stuff, script, turn off click deck, function status. You can see here, again, it's echoing. Everything is very procedural. Wow, it's just a block of stuff. You can see exactly what's happening. It's procedural, and I didn't like it at the time, but it's starting to grow on me more, the procedural style. Again, I'm talking about more at the end. Oh my god. Here it is. This is the 8-Space Incorporated Proton Research Facility. The first game. I made this with a team of people that I found. So a lot of the building wasn't done by me. It was done by a friend that I had. And the core effects especially were made by this friend. I haven't talked to them in a while. But wow, like this game... this was like my first serious project. There's some stuff over here. Look at this. Well, this is my old Roblox avatar. Dude, I was hardcore in the Bacon Army. I can't believe my username's this. Like did that shit to those editors because like genuinely I was so into it. Like I bacon hair is all I ever wore until like actually pretty recently, like a few years ago. If I remember quickly, a lot of this game just doesn't work anymore. Ooh, what is this? Oh, look at that, the little intro animation. That's so cool. Oh my god, how do I deselect? God, sorry, I hit the new editor. Proximity prompts. That's this old? I thought they were older than that. Why does it take so long to open? Power lasers, do they just work? No, they're disabled. Wow. Okay, the start system has been primarily. Okay, does this? What is that lag spike? Does this still work? Oh, I don't think so. Oh no, the lights are turning on. The lights are turning on. Oh my god. Start. The music isn't there. I actually have a video of this. Or it's not mine. I'm trying to find it. One of my friends took a video of it. Wait, no, that's not it. I'm close. I'm so close. Here it is. Here it is. Yes. Yes. 5 years ago. Oh my god. This is so crazy. This was so long ago. This was the rainbow core. Quality is so bad. Holy shit, dude. Oh, it's just so nostalgic to look at. Dude, I was so proud of this. Oh my god. Oh, that was me. Oh my god. 5 years ago, 2020. There's the meltdown too. Oh, dude, in reactor core games, there's like this meltdown, like when the core gets too hot, everything like explodes and shit. Did I actually make? Oh, this is the rainbow core. This is just the normal core. Then I'm thinking of something else. So like it changed color. Oh my god, this is so nostalgic. Forget About Freeman blasted into my ear. So this time I had never played a Half-Life games or Black Mesa. If you don't know, Forget About Freeman is a soundtrack from Black Mesa, but Forget About Freeman was a really common soundtrack at the time, along with Hacknet Labyrinths and some other one. I forget. It's so fucking loud. Wait, this is the modern remix of it. Why is nothing happening? It's just the music blaring. Concrete falling from the ceiling. Wow, this is beautiful. It might be as popular as Pinewood Builder Computer Core. No, dude. Oh my God. So I actually have to look at the code. This is such like a core memory. Okay, how did I handle it? Where's the meltdown? Where is that handled? I probably called it like meltdown, knowing me. No, it's not. Script, shut down PB lights. Is everything just delegated into separate scripts? Oh, each alarm has a script. That's crazy. Repeat wait. Look at this. Wow. So this is all bad, right? Obviously. But wow, this is like the least bad. Camera shake. Wow. So this is such a core memory of mine. An old stream. I was hoping I can work on some group called Aperture Science. Dude, I don't mean to sound like such an asshole, but I really didn't like working on this game. I was doing it because he was my friend. I really didn't want to. It's like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to tell him that I really didn't want to. I remember playing this game whenever he showed it to me, and I was like really impressed, but I had such an ego and I didn't want to say it. But like, it was actually good. Nowadays, he's probably a much better coder than I ever was. I think it's lost to time, unfortunately. I feel so bad because I just like stopped talking to all of these people for no reason. Rocket test game thing. This one. Now that one. You can see here, I wrote my own camera shaker, or my own movement. I had walk keybinds. This was sort of, I think actually this is actually pretty good for procedural programming. I should have used that more. Get walk direction camera space. You'll notice that this is how I used to name them, and I still sort of name them like this. I say what the function is gonna do, or what it's going to do relative to me. Like it's gonna get me the direction in camera space. It's gonna get me the walk direction in world space. A lot of the times these functions were pure, but a lot of times they weren't. So you can tell, like I was very procedural. I didn't even know what that term meant. This is naturally what I just was. I would, you see, yeah. Did I write this? I don't think I would do run S, input S. Okay, yeah, I actually don't even know if I wrote this. Because this would be good if I did write it, right? But I don't think I did. I'm going to be so for real now. Whatever. Jumping way forward. Let's do Starship to Hing. This was like a Starship animation back when I didn't know Elon Musk was like a complete job. 44. He's just commented up here. Wow, that is not separated. This function just does it all. Okay. It's just a full-on monolithic function. That is not what I was expecting. Alright, we're jumping forward. I want to take a look at a game. I'm not sure where it is in this order. This looks out of order because Maker Mouse came after. I'm going to look at... First, let's work at a wooden universe. A wooden universe. This was my planet generation game, and it was a very complex project. I took a lot of time researching how to make spheres, icospheres, and stuff, and I felt like an actual game developer making this. It wasn't very good, as you're about to see, but you can see this is when I was really trying. So this, I don't think I wrote that. I think I did write this. Module sphere constructor, so I did write this. So you could see that I would have like a module in a module, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure exactly why I did that. And I basically get sphere oh, it's a constructor. So I was like trying to make a class, but I didn't know what a class was. So what it did is it created a function instead of this is what I used to do, because I never understood how to use meta tables, because at the time there weren't classes in the Wii U. So what I would do is I would just put like, sometimes, this is very rare for me to do, and only especially like in recent code, which Again, I don't really program Roblox. In fact, I don't at all anymore. I've abandoned the platform. You can see here, it would have functions like get position, get noise. It would get random noise. I remember I had to look up, how do you do random noise? What is lacunarity? What are octaves? And a lot of this is bad. System maker, you can really see me trying. I had prefixes, suffixes. I had, you can see here, presets, some values that would be like presets that I could use. But these weren't like interfaces. Like this was just a function, and each one would return the table, and it was relying on all those values being there instead of actually making sure. So you can see here, I started naming things. Generate planet. This was. You could tell like this was very procedural. This is how I procedurally program. Generate polls, and it would do. It was not great. You see, create pole true and false. True and false represented the North Pole and the South Pole. I didn't know how to do enums at the time. There's a lot of magic numbers that you couldn't quite discern what they were doing. But everything was separated, like create names, create star. Things just weren't separated as much as they should be. But fundamentally, looking back on this, I remember this being horrible, but it's not as bad as I remember. The starship module, yeah, board ship, all this stuff. Very procedural. Ships were just ordered by name, which was really horrible. But honestly, I don't think this was that bad. Skybox module. We didn't have, there's no, like in Roblox, GPU isn't exposed. So I had no choice but to just do this. Just create a bunch of spheres far away. You can see here, wow, look at this. I defined things in upper, like, I forget what this is called, like full upper snake case. I forget what the term is. But you see, I wasn't constant pi 2. It's just pi times 2. Isn't that tau? Is numerically equal to 2 times pi. Yeah, I could have just called this tau. You can see here. Yeah, it had all this stuff. Oh no, this wasn't mine. This wasn't my gravity system. No. This also wasn't mine. No, yeah, these weren't mine. I'm not taking credit for that. Whatever. I used to use a lot of code that wasn't mine. Ship handler. Yeah, you had this. So you can see my code is now developing a style of procedural, but I declared some stuff to use sometimes. So let's take a look at game with reactor core, play now for nothing. Again, we're getting more recent. This was past January 2024 at least. Again, I am skipping because you things are defined. Like I have assets, and then I have things separated inside of them. Then if I go here to server, it basically, what it did was it had like the server. What the hell? What the hell? I don't know how I did that. It's like it's trying to be a window. That's so weird. Okay, whatever. I was using task.wait, and I had some stuff. I modules that did stuff, and then I just called start on them. The door module, for example, it defined itself and it returned itself, and it was just had some local functions for stuff that I didn't want to make public. And like for this, you can see it had nested functions, which is pretty common procedurally. And it was just a list of stuff that happened. I had big functions that separated some of its stuff into sub functions just to make it a little bit cleaner. But it was still one big monolithic function that ended up doing something. And honestly, I don't think that's that bad. I think it's pretty readable. Play audio. Audio wait. It's a sequence of instructions. It's telling you exactly what's happening and how it's doing it. Again, this entire time, I had no idea what a meta table was. That's a very recent thing. In fact, I only learned what it was after I abandoned Roblox. And this, I'm talking about like less than a year ago I learned. I finally decided to just learn what it was, and it wasn't that difficult at all. Honestly, the code here, pretty clean. It's a sequence of instructions. Maybe there's some, you see here, there's some like stuff that is not magic. And you see here, I have toggle and color 3 or this. I was starting to use the ternary operator, which is, that's very recent. I think I've done plus minus probably somewhere. Honestly, you can see stuff really forming. Now we're going to take a look at the most recent game, the game I just made before I abandoned the entire platform. Not quite Baby Destroyer. Maybe we'll look at that one. Maybe we'll look at Baby Destroyer last. Let's take a look at Micker Mouse. This is a project I was working on, and I was actually planning on continuing to work on. It just, the entire Roblox platform went to shit. This was in the last year or two. Still, I started making this project just before I really started learning about object-oriented programming. I think I had started using languages like C# and C. I think I even did C++ at the time, which is a horrible language, by the way. I'm not gonna throw shade in this video. Well, I am. I fucking hate C++. Oh, this is like the old Maker Mouse. Yeah, this isn't really what I was talking about. There's two Maker Mouses. This was the old one. Let's take a look at the new one. Make it or Mouse it or is the name of the game. It's so sad that I had to abandon this game. I was like using, I was using Blender to make assets. I wasn't very good at it, as you could tell, but I was, and I was actually planning on continuing this. This code is pretty recent for my Lua. Again, I still don't know how to do meta tables, but this is pretty recent for me. You see, everything is in assets. I have assets, then I have entities, level stuff. There's some stuff here, but this all was eventually going to get moved into assets. This was the server script. It just did some stuff. I'm actually really proud of this. I'm not sure what the hell this is. I think I was just lazy. I created a first-person character model. There's a camera shaker that I made. The footstep module, I made this. It cleared the sounds and it played its own. It had all these assets. Actually, I probably could have made this better. A lot of stuff I could have made better, obviously. Player module. This was the player manager. It managed the entire player. You can see here it was pretty big. It's about 600, 700 lines. And you can see it is pretty monolithic. Do cutscene event. This would put it into a cutscene state. On hindsight, I kind of regret this because I was doing too much object orientation where each function would be a sub-function managing a shared state, exactly like you would see in object-oriented programming, which I'm not really a big fan of. What I should have really been doing was passing data between the different functions as either a bunch of arguments or in Lua, what would have been better, some sort of struct like you would see in Rust, like a local player data would be equal to this, where you could say cutscene equals false and stuff like that. This is how I do it in more recent. I'm talking really recent, or like within the past few days, I've started really deconstructing how I've been programming and realizing that procedural was just a lot better. Like, I prefer my procedural code. As you can see, I have AI local. It has a bunch of state information. Then it has some data here. The biggest issue here was just, again, I was doing too much shared state stuff where the script would handle the entire state, which is wrong. Really, I should have been doing it between functions. No, I don't really like doing that anymore, where you could just have that big state. We have some stuff, like, overall, I don't hate this. This style, it's a little bit dirty, because I wasn't really still really good. This was, like, I've done a lot of growth when it comes to programming within the last year and a half. Like, I'm probably, like, quadratically better than I was back then. You can see here, here's what I really like. This is a classic function for procedural programming. RGB subtraction. We take in the first color, take in the second color. There's a local function in the function called overflow protection. It takes the first component and the second component, and it does some complex stuff. I think to just like to basically just like if first component is less than 0, return 0. If it's greater than 255. This could have been a math.clamp, but it's the spirit, right? And I apply that to each of the R, G, and B. So this is a very procedural function. And again, functions like this, like I should have just done these. Like this was good. But in recent times, like the past year, I started using C# and then C++, which by the way, I fucking hate C++, if I didn't mention that already. And all the languages I was using, I started realizing, oh, I've been missing out on object orientation all this time. And I started making object-oriented program. And honestly, I think that was a mistake. I don't regret it though, because I learned a lot about object orientation, and there was a lot of stuff that I do like about object orientation. I guess a good example, like again, I don't know if you'd really consider this object orientation, but just storing data inside of some sort of state, like for example, I could say in here, I don't know, just like some sort of state information you could put in here, like, it's a good example, level maybe equals 1 or something like that. Like state information is good, but not when it's global, available for all the functions to see, because then it can get confused of where it is. Instead, I should have passed passed in the data to the function that needed it as some sort of structure, but not in the functional sense, because the functions were free to modify that data. Given the same set of data, they wouldn't always give the same output. There is still some shared state, but this was a better approach than object orientation, in my opinion. Procedural, like, it looks dirty, and I thought it was, but it's just a clean set of instructions on how to do something. Let's take a look at my AI. So the AI for the monster in this game was, you could really see what I mean. The AI, it defined a bunch of stuff at the top, and then at the top it had a bunch of state information, the team list, the target, the raycast parts. It had some constants defined, and this is all right? This is all right. It had an IK list. The problem is, once again, the shared state. These functions work together to really create a state. Like we have create raycast, get random parent, wait event. In my opinion, this all should have been passed as a function throughout the entire program, sorry, not as a function, as like a state, a piece of state, like I was talking about. Look at this, state recursed or tail recursed. I don't even know if it's possible to do tail recursion in Lua. Tail recursion is like a compiler optimization, right? I don't think this is tail recursion, because like this is a compiled language, unless there's like tail recursion optimization or something, and I'm just thinking of something wrong. There's chase. I feel like this function does too much. But again, I would take this over object orientation. The problem is I was sort of trying to do both when I should have only really been doing one. And we'll look at Baby Destroyer right now. You can see I have this sort of object here. And at this point, like, this was pretty recently. This was like 3 months ago. So I was still pretty, like, I wasn't like 3 months ago, really. I was pretty object oriented. I was used to C# and languages like that. But honestly, I think it's been like a peak. Over the past 2 months, I was super object oriented, but it's been going back down. You can see all the global variables were defined as actual parts of the script, which I think are like as children of the script, which I think is fine. Again, you can see here, look at this. I defined everything. I would organize this a bit differently now, but the amount is spelled wrong. But yeah, I mean, all this is pretty fine. We have spool function, set particle rate, rotate, get random offset, spool. It spools it up, activate, declarative sets of action. Which I think I was doing this just because I was in Lua and I was used to it. Like I was still I was in object orientation at the time, but still, this is code I'm writing in Rust right now. Ignore the huge amount of errors. You can see it is pretty object oriented, more so than I would like. This was pretty recent. Like I said, this has been a past few days type of thing. You can see I have terrain as a structure and I implement it, which is basically just like implementing methods of a class. And I have is in chunk bounds, get nearest grid position. And what I don't like here is that you see I'm taking here I'm taking a mutable reference, I'm taking a reference to self, a mutable reference to self and stuff. I don't really like it. And you can see my old renderer, I was doing this, I had so many issues because I was doing this in Rust, especially with issues with the borrow checker. I had to stop, and I had to see procedural rewrite. Like right now, I'm procedurally rewriting the code because honestly, it's just better. Let's take a look at the very first code that I would really consider object oriented that I made. Here is the BMS transponder, the Blackman source transpiler. I haven't abandoned this, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'm taking a hiatus on it. It's sort of how I do projects. I work on it for a while, and then I hate it. And then I won't work on it, and then randomly one day I'll get motivation and work on it for like 4 months straight. So just give it time, I promise. One day I will be interested in this again. But you can see here, added connections in general refactored OOP 3 months ago. Pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. How exactly did I refactor it to OOP? Let's take a look at the changelog. I swear, they make these difficult to read on purpose. Whatever, let's just take a look at the actual code. You can see here, I had classes. I had a vector 3. By default, it was nil. You could have it had all these functions you could do to it. It was very much object-oriented. The vector was contained, and you could do stuff with it. And honestly, for small parts of the code, object orientation, I don't mind. Like, I'm pretty, like, I sit somewhere in the middle. Procedural code, 50%. Object-oriented, 25%. Functional 25. Like, for example, a vector, it's super useful to be able to just have a vector and then do dot, and then do the dot product of it. Or for stuff like that, it's great. I think object orientation can work good, but in extreme moderation. Right, if I'm writing a quaternion, for example, that would be a great way to have some sort of object orientation. A quaternion dot, what do you do with quaternions? Like convert to world space or something. It's great for that. For simple things, it's great. For small objects, just to make it very convenient to use mathematicals and other stuff like it. But if you have a class that's designed to be a module of a flight computer, like, I don't know, for example, a reaction control system. Not hinting at the Nether Star right now. Not hinting at any projects I'm working on. And by the way, I wrote that in TypeScript, so I had no choice but to use a class. So that's kind of important. And then it starts to get really impractical because then you have all this shared state. I guess what I'm trying to say is object orientation works really well whenever there is no real internal state. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology. I'm not like a programming fucking theorist or computer scientist. Sorry, I don't even like saying those. But you can see here, I could just make a new vector at any time. Like a vector with the x coordinate of 1, the y coordinate of 1, and the z coordinate of 1 doesn't have any internal state. If I do vector3.new 1, 1, 1, it is exactly equivalent. Which may seem weird, but imagine you have a vector or you have some sort of something and you say change state. You can change how it behaves. It's like you can change it from a normal state to a degraded state. Then running the same function out twice would yield different results. And I'm not just talking about purity, though that is a concern. The thing is, the state is shared within the object, which is wrong. Having functions like this is fine because vector3.new will always return the same result for the same input. And again, I know it sounds like I'm talking about functional purity, like from a functional programming language, but I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying that having shared state as a function of the object is bad. Having shared state can be good when the functions communicate that state to each other, and it should be kept to a minimum in ways that make sense. Things get exponentially more complicated whenever you have too much shared state, I think. So that's why I think this vector3 class is fine, but this not so much, because you have functions that can, for example, set attributes to table that will overwrite the self's data, and then these functions are now accessing a shared state, which is defined. Oh, interesting. I actually didn't put all the data here. This is a good example, which is defined here. We just have a bunch of shared state data, but that's not really what I think you should do. For example, this entire thing could be written as just this, like literally just made up of this data up here instead of having a class for no reason. Shared state should be a function of functions communicating to each other in such a way that it can work. And shared state, no matter how you do it, no matter which way you cut it, will always add exponential complexity, so try to minimize it. Well, I think that's probably it for this video. I sort of got out of hand. A lot of stuff I say, like, I'm very much still working on this. Like, I'm very much still trying to transition my coding style, specifically away from object orientation, because I found that it's just making things too complex. But one thing that I've always never done is inheritance. Inheritance is stupid. I've always never done inheritance because I did mostly Lua back then and I didn't know how to do classes. A lot of my object-oriented code still resembles procedural, just with a bunch of shared state stuff that I don't like. Good way to imagine it is imagine if all of your functions, which by the way, namespaces, I like those. You define, for example, this renderer is a namespace in Rust. You see I have renderer.rs and I'm just publicly defining functions because the way this works, I could go to, for example, my main function, do renderer, and then this is sort of like a namespace where I could then call functions inside of it. That's sort of how things happen in Rust. By the way, Rust, great language. This allows me to have a namespace and still keep it organized, but all of the shared data is a function of this structure here. See, this structure has a bunch of the bodies, the textures in it. It's all stored in here. And functions that need that data can either send it to each other, the entire data block, or more commonly, there's one function that delegates the important parts of the block to the functions that need it. For example, this render body, I actually don't know if this is a good example. Never mind. I don't have a good example right now. But for example, if you have a function that needs to calculate needs to set the dimensions of the screen, all you need to do is have some function with access to the render data, call that function, and set the return value to the structure of render data instead of having it set it to self and have some shared state. Or for example, we have this huge bodies section that's all of the static bodies that are in the renderer. All this data could just be render static bodies, and it just gets passed in the bodies. It doesn't need to concern itself with all this other bullshit that it doesn't care about. You have a function, for example, a flashlight. You need to know if it's already equipped. So how can you do that? Well, you can just tell it. You have one function that has access to that data and says flashlight, when you press F, flashlight equip, and all the data that flashlight equipped gets in its functions is it currently equipped, and whatever other data it needs. That makes things super simple. And the way I like to do it is basically treat everything as arguments, or parameters, I guess. And if that parameter list gets too high, just put it in a structure for organization. So everything at the end of the day should just be parameters, and you should use structures to just have a bunch of parameters in a more organized way. And again, I'm not against grouping things together. This renderer, like I just said, it's pretty much just a namespace that contains all the functions. If I were to take all the data in here and copy and paste it into the file that needed it, it would work exactly the same. I don't have to, like even if you can imagine if it was in a class and I extract it out, it doesn't matter because that's fundamentally not how the data is stored. I have been really enjoying switching away from object-oriented programming, and I think you should give it a try. This is really one of the reasons, like, Rust changed how I think about programming. Like, I now do functional stuff that I never did before. I never did functional programming. Object-oriented stuff is still there, like structures, and there's still the implementation block. For example, if we look at my vector 3 or my vector 2, I still do implementations, and I think this is fine. Like, I'm fine doing object-oriented stuff. I don't think it's bad just by itself. It's the shared state I think is fundamentally the problem for me. And I need to define shared state. I mean, like, maybe shared state isn't a good term to define it. I just mean like some sort of, like, if I have a, like, you see here, public hello, this equals to some bool. In initialization we say hello is equal to false. And what happens, the problem is I can then some random function for some reason say self dot hello equals true. Just ignore the errors. It's a mutable reference, so that won't compile. Then the state is changed in another function that doesn't really know that that function has been called. If I have some other like function that takes in self, then self dot hello, this, it's unknown to it. It doesn't know, like, it can check, but it fundamentally doesn't know what the value is, and it can get complex. We have so many values that can impact things. We have constant if statements and else statements. And I think if statements and else statements aren't inherently bad. I think procedural programming just really accepts the code for what it is. It is a series of procedures. Don't complexify things by separating them to objects. It's just procedural programming for the win.